Mercree, and I'm so excited to be here today with my dear, dear soul sister friend, Shannon Kaiser.
Hi!
Hello, Shannon.
Hi, it's so awesome to be here today with you.
It's always awesome to be with you. Shannon is the best-selling author of Find Your Happy and the Find Your Happy Daily Mantras, and her new book is my favorite book of the year so far, Adventures for Your Soul.
Yay.
I love it. It's just an awesome book. So, Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
It's so awesome. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yay. So I want to talk today all about Adventures for Your Soul because I just think it's such an inspiring book. It really brings things into focus about what you can do to live a happier life and how you can really nurture your inner essence. So my first question for you is, what inspired you to write it?
Such a good question. Well, the book is 21 ways to transform our habits that are holding us back. And what I found through my own personal journey, I used to be in corporate, and I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was working in advertising. This is before I realized what I wanted to do with my life. I thought advertising was it. And, you know, what happens when you get to a place in your life where you've put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. I was, in debt because I put myself through grad school. I was supposed to run my own ad agency. Like, that was my life. And then when I got into corporate, it felt like nothing like what I thought. And I was kind of hit rock bottom. And it resulted in my doctor diagnosing me with clinical depression. And at the time, I said, okay, well, I have a choice. I can keep ignoring my inner voice and let fear run my life, or I can kind of pay attention to these little nudges that are coming to me. And I decided to follow my heart, and everything changed. It was, of course, not an overnight fix, but what I realized is that by tapping into my own loving presence instead of the fear, I could transform my life. And so one step at a time, I left corporate. I moved back to Oregon where I grew up, and I started this life that really felt good instead of just looking good. And so Adventures for Your Soul came about after I wrote my first 2 books. I was on a travel writing job because I left corporate to become a travel writer. And I was in Puerto Vallarta, and I sat down and I started writing out all the reasons we don't follow through on our dreams. Because here I was, like, living my dream life that just a couple years prior, I had never even imagined. And so by tapping into that guidance in my heart, I realized there's a plan. There's literally a step-by-step blueprint plan. And I looked at my paper and I realized it was the table of contents for my next book, Adventures for Your Soul. And it happens to be like a really intuitive, easy to approach guide to help you get past the fear and do what I did and find your dream calling and live your dream life.
Who wouldn't love that?
I know it's
That's
fun.
what we all want.
Yeah, it's fun and it's playful. It's obviously just a guide to allow you to start trusting yourself instead of like listening to what the world thinks you have to do.
Right. And it's a really fun book to read because it's light. I'm kind of like a light person to begin with.
Yeah, well, I think we're such good friends because we like to bring the joy into everything, and it's really about the joyful part of living. And yes, we're doing deep spiritual work, and it's very transformational when you go into the exercises and when you allow yourself to get to the pain point, but it can be healing in a joyful way, and it becomes more playful. It's like a dance with life, so to speak.
Absolutely. That's why I like it so much, because I have a light approach, and so I get in there, and I'm like, wow. Wait a minute, this is deep stuff.
Yeah, it really is, deep, but it's nurturing. Do you know what I mean? I allow myself to write in a way that is almost like you're being kind of hugged, through the process, and I'm your friend holding your hand and cheering you on, but also if you really show up for yourself, miracles will happen. Transformation, nothing shy of transformation is going to happen for you. And I think we all want that. We want that deeper sense of belonging, of knowing that we're part of something bigger.
I think we all do, and I think that your gentle approach really resonates for me, and I know it resonates for so many people because it doesn't have to be hard work and struggle. It can just be a fun journey where, yes, we do, go deep and look at stuff and work through things, but it doesn't have to be a slog, which I love.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe the same thing.
Yeah. So, if you were going to give us 3 of your top tips to remove limiting beliefs, because I know that's a big thing that you talk about in the book, what would those tips be?
Well, I think limiting beliefs, first and foremost, we have to identify them and realize that most of the thoughts we're thinking are actually not always true. But up until we kind of realize that this dialogue that's in our head isn't always accurate, then it's going to keep running rampant. And that's why I was in depression. That's why I was in such a dark place. And so I think the very first thing is to actually focus on what you want. And I have a chapter in there because that talks about this, because I think so many of us focus on what we don't want. Even though we say, like, maybe New Year's is coming up, right? Oh, I want to lose weight in the new year. Oh, but I have tried so many diets. And I can't seem to stop eating chocolate. And so it's like, even though we say we think we know what we want, we immediately go to what's not working, no matter what area of your life, whether it's finding your purpose, soulmate, you know. So I think identifying these these beliefs in your mind that keep like going crazy, and being compassionate with them, and just notice, I notice you thought, instead of believing it to be true. And I think on that same token, the most pivotal moment of your life that can really add a lot of value is looking in the mirror and saying nice things to yourself. And not even looking in the mirror, like, yes, look in the mirror, but also carry it through when you're driving, or when you're walking down the street, or when your boss doesn't give you the raise. Instead of criticizing yourself, it's really about lifting yourself up. And so I think that's a really powerful practice we can all start doing, just being more compassionate and kind to ourselves with the way we talk to ourselves. And then another tip I think I would definitely want to add is to follow your joy route. The whole book's kind of set up in joy routes, and it's my favorite because a joy route is about the inspiration that comes to you. A lot of us say, I don't know what I want, or I'm feeling stuck, or I just won't take any action because it's just so overwhelming. But we are getting inspiration all the time. All the time we have our intuitive, our guides, like everyone around us helping us, giving us clear next steps, and all we have to do is just take one step. So following your joy route is about tapping into your joy. And when I first left corporate, when I was depressed, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew my joy route said start to follow your joy route, which means leaving corporate. Okay, one step, I'll leave corporate. Move back to Oregon. And then when I moved back to Oregon, I started to write more. I had never wrote before. But then as I did it, I was like, whoa, this is so amazing. And so it opened up more possibilities, one step at a time. And so just allow yourself to follow your joy route. Or you could call it nourish the nudge, which I say too. It's a nudge inside of you.
I love those both.
Yeah, they're fun.
Awesome. A joy route, I mean, that's right up my alley, I'll tell you what. And I love that, nourish the nudge, because we all get those.
Yes.
We get those little thoughts and those little nudges.
Yeah, and I think, like in my book, I talk about the reason each chapter goes into, we may get this inspiration, but why aren't we following through? For example, there's a part on we don't act on inspiration because of fear. And so I think identifying why we're not is really the key and the catalyst to moving you into the life you really know you want.
Definitely. So talk to us more about fear. I think it's such a force in our lives, just like that self-talk is that you were mentioning. Fear, how do we move out of fear and start acting from a place that's not motivated by it?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think that, that we are either motivated by fear or inspiration, or desperation. I think Jim Rohn said you're either motivated by, you're desperate to make a change, like, oh, I've gained so much weight, or whatever it may be, or I'm inspired, life is great. Yeah. And I think if we get really honest with ourselves, like I'm going to lay it out there, us as humans, most of the time, our fear is actually a motivator for change. And so I think it can help us. So I don't think we're trying to run away from our fear, but we think we are. So many of us are like, my fear, it's horrible, I can't move forward. But when we can take one step in the face of fear, miracles, nothing shy of miracles will happen. So really, instead of focusing so much, I think, on how we can get through fear, let's focus on getting courage. Because when we get the courage to take one step at a time, over and over again, the fear really becomes so much less, and then the loving presence and then the inspiration is so large that fear has no place to exist in there. So it's an approach where you allow yourself to be who you really are. And the more I allowed myself to be me, the less fear was there. Because before, I was trying to fit into the world. I was like, oh, the world thinks I should stay in advertising, I need to be married by a certain age, all this stuff. And I said, I don't want any of that for me. What do I really want? And then all of a sudden, your loving inner voice can have a platform.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
However, I will say that fear does stop us. It's the number one thing that stops us. And I think identifying what fear is going to help people move forward. Yeah. So I do have a chapter called Fear Detox, and I go through the top 10. Can you believe it? We have 10? Yeah, 10 fears. Everything from fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of inadequacy, fear of, it goes on and on. But I take people through a process.
I love that.
Of identifying why this fear is at play. And I will tell you, it always comes back to something that happened in our childhood or something a few years ago where we learned something and then we learned to react in a way to not make that happen again.
Yeah.
And then we're overcompensating for the rest of our lives until we look at it,
the human way,
It is. It's what we do as humans. So it's okay as long as you know that instead of running from it.
And I think it might have served us when we were earlier in our evolutionary process, where it was like, we have to learn, okay, don't touch fire or it'll hurt you, or, don't do this near a wild animal or it might hurt you. But now we haven't really upgraded our system, but we're living such a different life.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. Like, our brain doesn't know if our lives is seriously in danger.
Yeah.
It thinks it is, even though it's kind of a emotional fear versus a fear that you're going to die.
Yeah. Because I think that's how sometimes we feel,
Oh, you feel 100%. It feels like you're going to die. Yeah. And so and I know I'm very familiar with this feeling. That's how I live my life. I would not leave corporate because I was so scared. How are you going to make money doing what you love? All these fears came up, and they were so loud that I thought I was going to die. And it was so bad that in corporate, I was actually crying in the bathroom daily at work. Like, I had to excuse myself for meetings. And then I'd cry myself to sleep every night because the fear was so loud and treacherous. And I thought everyone cried themselves to sleep. I really did. Like, looking back, I realized that's not a normal thing because now I understand. Yeah. And so I think our fear conditions us to play small. And I was listening to my fear because I thought that it knew better. Mm-hmm. And once we realize that our fear doesn't know better, it's just like a little child that is acting out because it wants attention. Yeah. Once we can just say, like, hey, fear, I see you. I know that you're trying to tell me that this is not a good idea, but guess what? Love is here with us. Love will show us the way. And then all of a sudden the fear calms down, and that anxiety we carry around calms down, and then we have a clearer vision to move forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's just like humanity 101 too. It's just critical skills for us to learn to flourish as conscious humans.
Yes.
And I do really love the way Shannon takes us through that in Adventures for Your Soul. I mean, it's just really eloquent, and it lays it out step by step, so we feel like we have somebody there with us, just like you intend when you write for us.
Yeah, thank you. It's so awesome to be able to write these books and share this, so I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sharing with you.
Yay. So for my last question, tell us, if you had to pick one thing, one just huge, amazing secret to a happier life, what would it be?
Wow. Well, there's not just one secret.
I know.
But
like one of the best.
I will share where Adventures for Your Soul really goes and takes you. Obviously, it's an adventure for your soul. But what it comes back down to, and the reason I wrote the book, is because I want you to know that you matter and you belong. And I think a lot of us feel like we need to fit the world, and the world's trying to tell us what we need. Mm-hmm. And as long as we're doing that, we will feel like something's missing. We will feel like something's off. And so it really comes back down to you trusting you and allowing yourself to be you. So the golden ticket to being happy is to allow yourself to be you. Honor yourself in each moment. If you want to eat ice cream for breakfast, by all means, please do it. Don't worry about the health blogs, okay? It's that idea of like, and if you want to go vegan, like go vegan. Like it's not even about health. It's like if you want to like quit your job and go travel, forget what the world says, because when you honor yourself, you light up yourself, you heal yourself, and in turn you help and heal all those around you, and the world lifts up. And it really starts with you. So just be you. Just do you is the chapter that talks about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how you're sharing all these powerful tips in a way that is so palatable, and then it really is a spiritual mission too, because you're helping us raise our vibration, and then we raise the vibration of the world. I mean, it's all
connected. And I think it's, a lot of people are like, well, self-love is selfish. And I think when we really understand that it's our divine right, and when we're trying to take care of everyone else, it's actually sacrificing ourselves. So we're exhausted, we get sick, we get run down. And I think it comes back down to understanding that it's not selfish at all. It's actually priority. So make yourself a priority is really the key, because it is spiritual. It's a very spiritual practice. Like your higher power, your angels, your guides, like they care for you so much and want you to be the center of your universe. So allow yourself to see your greatness. Like say, honor yourself, respect yourself. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Such good stuff. Yay.
Yeah, it's fun.
Adventures for Your Soul in bookstores everywhere. Amazon.com. Published by Penguin Random House by Mercree.
Double books.
I love it. Pick it up. I really enjoy the book on so many levels, and just all of Shannon's work. She's inspiring us on Mind Body Green. She's inspiring us on Huffington Post, all over the web. You're just sharing so much awesome stuff. She inspires me all the time, and then I get the added bonus. She designed my gorgeous new website. So, I mean, who wouldn't love that? You're awesome.
Yeah, it's so awesome to be here. I love that we got to connect. It's you know what? I just want to share this story too, because I remember in like 2011 or 12. When did your first book come out? Was it 12?
2012. Mm-hmm.
But it was like the spring or something, right?
I think it was January. It was early.
Okay, then I got it early on. I remember I was still writing Find Your Happy. I was like still in the process, and I remember I had just come out of a breakup, and I read Amy's book, The Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating, and I was like, oh my god, this author's amazing. And it's the first author I ever followed. I went to Twitter, I followed her, and then I went to like, you know, all her stuff, and I was like, I love her, and I tweeted her, and then I just loved her book, and I gave it as to gifts as my friend. And then here we are, like a few years later, we're like best buddies, and I love how the universe connects you, and all I did was just love her and support her, and I think for anyone who's listening who's feeling like, I get the question a lot, like how can I make new friends or be surrounded by like-minded people, and I think when you let go of the expectation, like when I first reached out I wasn't like, Amy and I are going to be best friends, but we know, you know, the universe allowed us to grow.
Right. I
think it's like, release the expectation and just follow your heart and support people that you care about. And then the universe is gonna, you set the intention, like, I want more like-minded people, and, you know, that's just our story is such a fun story and an example of, like, what's possible for people. Because now we talk, we do courses together, we're always doing our Skype calls. Amy coached me, she's an amazing intuitive coach, I love her style, so work with her too. And then, you know.
I do love our story, and it's so funny because when you were, like, tweeting me and stuff, I was, like, behind the times. I'm hopefully not now. I didn't even know how to tweet her back. You like sent me a Twitter message and I found it in like 2014. I was like, what's
so
this?
Great. That's when we became really good friends.
I know. I was like, wait, I have a message from Shannon Kaiser. Huh?
It's amazing.
It's just so funny because we probably would have become friends earlier.
Yeah, I love that. Isn't that great?
Sure our timing
it's just like connecting the dots.
I know. It's funny. So, yeah, life's amazing. You're amazing. I'm so excited that we're sharing Adventures for Your Soul today.
Thank you. It's been awesome to be here. I love you, Amy. I love every one of you. I hope you guys have a great day playing with the world.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on Fresh Talk. And thank you all for joining us. Please remember to live joy, be kind, and love unconditionally today and every day. And have an adventure for your soul.